Hey friends, Sheila here. I am a holistic nutritionist and bicycle tourer. I make videos about nutrition, I make videos about bicycle touring, so this video just feels very long overdue, but better late than never. So today we are talking about nutrition and bike touring. I will be sharing with you my 5 favorite nutrition tips for bike touring. This is a topic I am so passionate about because I feel like in bike touring there is just so much to think about that nutrition can really easily fall on the back burner, but what we eat while bike touring can make a big difference in our experience. For one, when you eat in a more nutritious, healthful way while you are bike touring, it will give you more energy so you can feel better and cycle better. But it's also really important because cycling is incredibly fun, but it also puts a lot of strain on our bodies. We have to keep in mind that when we are asking our bodies to cycle for hours a day, day after day, we are just burning through nutrients, and it is so important that we are replenishing those nutrients. Because if we aren't, we can end up with nutrient deficiencies or health issues, so it is so important to eat in a way that can help us feel our best. Now, do not fear, this can be done in a very budget-friendly, versatile, easy way. Today I'm going to talk about my top 5 nutrition tips for bike touring, and in addition I've also created a downloadable guide that you can get the link to below. It will cover everything we discuss in this video as well as some recipes so you have some ideas to get you started. Now, before we get into my tips, I do need to give a little disclaimer. Please keep in mind that this is not to be interpreted as medical advice. Health and nutrition needs are incredibly personal and unique to every individual. So please consult your doctor or other health practitioner before implementing anything I mention in today's video. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. Tip number 1 is easy in theory, not always in practice, and that is to eat enough. When we go from our day-to-day lives to cycling for hours day after day, we really need to increase the amount of calories we are consuming. Now, how much you need to increase that by will vary from person to person and will vary depending on the day, whether you're doing a lot of really tough hills on tough terrain, or if you luck out and you have a tailwind and a bunch of flats, how much energy you need for that day is really going to vary. A good rule of thumb is to check in with yourself every 30 minutes and to consider having a snack. Some dried fruit, some trail mix, just something simple to keep you going. It's also really important to understand your hunger cues. When we are cycling, we are burning through a lot of calories, a lot of energy, and our bodies might tell us that by a grumbling tummy, but keep in mind that when we are cycling, our bodies are focused on keeping us moving. They are focused on our muscles. They are keeping us focused on the exercise we are doing. And so digestion is not the priority. And that means you might not feel hungry, but your body is getting depleted. So you need to be sure you are eating at regular intervals and replenishing your food stores. Tip number 2 is to remember your macronutrients. Foods are made up of 3 macronutrients. They are nutrients that are found in large or macro amounts. These are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. They are all crucial for our health and well-being and do different things in our bodies. Carbohydrates are necessary for energy, proteins are really important for rebuilding our muscles, and fats are helpful for satiety, so for filling us up. They are also needed for our cells and for vitamin absorption. Carbohydrates can be further broken down into complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are things like whole grains, so rolled oats, brown rice. These take longer to break down and so will fill you up for longer. Simple carbohydrates tend to have a sweet taste. They are things like maple syrup, honey, fruits. They are simpler to break down and so will give you a quicker source of energy. They're both very beneficial for cycling. Simple carbohydrates are great to have when you are on your bike and you maybe don't have time to stop and you just need to get a quick source of energy. That's when simple carbohydrates will really come in handy. Complex carbohydrates are great to have maybe at mealtime or you have a little bit of time for a snack and your body will digest them over a longer period of time. Sources of protein are beans, seeds, fish, eggs, and sources of fat are things like avocados, olives, and nuts. They do take a little longer to break down, so they're nice to have in the evening when you're a bit more of a restful state and your body can take that time to digest and use all the nutrients they provide. But of course, they're still great to include throughout your day as well. If you aren't familiar with macronutrients, this might seem a little overwhelming to get started, but once you understand them, it is such an easy way to ensure you are having a balanced diet while you are cycle touring. Because at the end of the day, you can look back and go, did I get some carbohydrates? Did I get some proteins? Did I get some fats? That way you can see if you're incorporating a bit of all of them and make adjustments the next day if you need to. Tip number 3 is to get your fruits and veggies. In tip number 2, we talked about macronutrients, the nutrients that are present in large amounts. Now we're talking about micronutrients, so the nutrients that are found in smaller amounts but are incredibly important. These are your vitamins and minerals, and they are found in incredibly large quantities in fruits and vegetables. When we are cycling, we are burning through a ton of vitamins and minerals, and so it is so important to replenish them, but they are probably the foods most cycle tourists are the lowest on because it can feel really hard to incorporate them. They take up a lot of space, they go bad faster, it can just feel a little overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. The 2 challenges with fruits and veggies are 1, getting our hands on the fruits and vegetables, and then 2, making sure that we eat them. In terms of getting enough fruits and vegetables, it's important to keep an eye out for them, to look for those fruit stands on the side of the road, to look for those town markets, to stock up at grocery stores, to really just seek out those opportunities to get as many fruits and vegetables as you can, and to pick those that are going to last the longest for you. Things like carrots, broccoli, zucchini, kale, they're all pretty robust and they will last a bit of time. In terms of fruits, apples and pears, they're pretty sturdy, they're not going to get squished as easily in your bags. Anything that feels a little firmer is going to go further for you. And then of course being sure you allow room for them. So keeping some space in your panniers or traveling with an extra collapsible bag so you can strap it onto the back of your bike when you are able to stock up on groceries. Now challenge number 2 is to ensure we're actually eating those fruits and vegetables once we buy them. With fruits, it's a little easier. We're used to just grabbing an apple or pear and eating it. But with vegetables, we're usually used to chopping them, preparing them, and so it can just seem like a lot of work, but it doesn't have to be. I know this might sound weird, but consider eating them the same way you do fruits. So just biting into that cucumber, eating a pepper like an apple. I know it seems weird and people might stare, but it's an incredible way to get those vitamins and minerals into your body. If you aren't big on the taste of vegetables, getting some hummus or some kind of spread that you can put on your carrots, put on your zucchini, to just make it a little more exciting. And then at the end of the day, when you are preparing a meal, ensuring that you're getting at least 2 or 3 vegetables into that meal. Number 4 is to drink enough water. Now, how much you need will vary depending on temperature, how long your cycle is that day, how intense your cycle is that day. But a good rule of thumb is to grab your bottle every 15 minutes or so and take a couple big sips. It's also really good to keep an eye on your hydration levels by quite honestly looking at your urine. So ensuring that it is kind of a pale yellow color. If it's a really dark yellow color, you might be getting dehydrated. Also keep in mind that thirst is definitely a sign that you need to drink something, but it's nice to consume a steady amount of water so that you aren't getting to the point that you're really thirsty. And our final tip number 5 is to salt up. When we are cycling, our bodies burn through a lot of water, but they also burn through a lot of electrolytes. Those are things like sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and we want to make sure we are recuperating those losses. There are little salt pills you can buy if you're struggling to incorporate enough salt while you're cycling. Another easy way is to just bring a small grinder of rock salt or Himalayan salt and sprinkle that on your meals whenever you make them. Salt gets a bad rap because it is so overused in processed foods, but it is incredibly important when you are cycling to ensure you are getting enough of those key electrolytes. Okay friends, so those are 5 basic nutrition tips for bike touring. 1, eat enough. 2, remember your macronutrients. 3, get your fruits and veggies. 4, drink enough water. And 5, salt up. If after all that information, you're like, how do I implement all of this? Do not fear. Check out my guide below that will teach you how to put together a nutritious breakfast and a nutritious lunch or dinner while you are bike touring. The whole guide is focused on being budget friendly and versatile and easy because I know how crucial those are when you are out biking. So hopefully you will find that a good jumping off point. So click the link below for some ideas on how you can implement everything I talked about here. If you have any questions about nutrition and bike touring that I did not answer in today's video, do not hesitate to leave them below. If you like this video and you found it helpful, please give it a like, really supports my channel. And if you want to be notified whenever I put out new videos, you can hit subscribe and a little bell below. Thanks, have a good one.